For the last couple of years, the Money in the Bank pay-per-view is normally reserved for the month of June, and happens after probably one of the most pointless and predictable pay-per-views of the year, Backlash. Fans only have to look back at last year's pay-per-view, where the Reigns vs Samoa Joe match could be summed up by the fans' chants of CM Punk, Rusev Day, and Beat the Traffic. With no title changes and no real storyline advancement, it was just a poor showing and another example of how the WWE has too many pay-per-views right now. However, this year, WWE has decided to mix things up a little and have the more meaningful Money in the Bank pay-per-view for May instead. We for one think it's better to have this pay-per-view straight after Mania, as WWE can now set up the next proper challenger for the Universal or WWE Championship by winning the contract in the briefcase. But who could be this year's winner? Well, let's look at some early picks for both the men's and women's Money in the Bank ladder match. Number 1. Drew McIntyre. He is in Vince McMahon and Triple H's eyes the chosen one, as he dominated the roster as NXT champion, holding it for a respectable 91 days before falling to Andrade and suffering a torn bicep. His injury resulted in him being away from the ring for several months until April last year, when McIntyre made his return to Raw as part of the Superstar shakeup. For months, McIntyre proved to be as dominant on the Red brand than on NXT, not suffering a pinfall for many months, and proved that he possesses great mic skills with exceptional in-ring skills and the ability to perform. Whilst McIntyre needlessly joined up with the likes of Dolph Ziggler and thereafter Bobby Lashley and Baron Corbin last year and suffered his first major loss on the main roster to Roman Reigns at Wrestlemania, losing a bit of steam, WWE can build him back up to the main event picture by having him win this year's Money in the Bank match. They've had over a year of building him up into this monster heel, and hopefully with Brock Lesnar now out of the picture, possibly heading back to UFC, WWE can finally pull the proverbial trigger on McIntyre, making him number 1 contender for the Universal Championship. His win, however, shouldn't come anywhere near until Survivor Series or even WrestleMania next year, as Rollins has to have some time with the belt, building it back up to the level of the WWE Championship. Number 2. Roman Reigns. After Roman Reigns addressed the WWE Universe that he has been battling leukemia for several years and it has now come out of remission, he was forced to drop the Universal Championship, leaving the title vacant going into the Crown Jewel event. Of course, after he returned in February to announce that the leukemia has gone back in remission and returned to wrestling again, he's been booked strong with the Shield going over in their last match together and winning his first singles match of the year against Drew McIntyre. It's clear that WWE wants to push Reigns whilst he's still getting cheered by fans, and rather than just angering the fans by instantly inserting him into the title picture, even if he didn't lose the title in the first place, WWE will have him earn his rightful shot at the title. It was only a matter of time before Reigns goes after the title again, but this time it could add the interesting dynamic of two friends fighting for the belt. Number 3. Andrade. Andrade's main roster run has been lukewarm at best. Though he's had some incredible matches with the likes of Rey Mysterio and Mustafa Ali on the blue brand, he hasn't had any major wins as of yet. WWE is surely aware of his potential, but has yet to pull the proverbial trigger on doing anything significant since he joined the main roster. Rumours had surfaced earlier this year that Andrade was unhappy with WWE and their failure to push him as the star he once was on NXT. Perhaps WWE have placated him with a slow burn of a push, as the possibility of him facing Kofi Kingston for the WWE Championship in the near future sounds like it would be an incredible match and worthy of a pay-per-view headliner. And number 4. Baron Corbin. Yes, this is the third Raw superstar on this list, and it would be Corbin's second Money in the Bank win, but something tells us that Corbin, who is one of the biggest heels in the WWE right now, could potentially leave the pay-per-view as the winner. There are currently rumours of Corbin entering into a program with Roman Reigns, so if they see him as that big of a heel to enter a feud with one of its biggest babyfaces, surely a win could be possible. The win would be highly unpopular, but who said anything is fair in WWE? But those were our picks for the men's Money in the Bank ladder match, but what about the women? The women have only had 2 matches in history, with Carmella and Alexa Bliss successfully cashing in. But who could be the 3rd winner in history? Number 1. Charlotte Flair. One of the most obvious choices would be the Queen Charlotte Flair, as her recent title win on SmackDown and her participating in the main event at WrestleMania have proved that Vince McMahon always loves giving her opportunities, even if it is at the expense of another wrestler. It's possible that the WWE isn't done with having a Flair vs Lynch feud, and it could see her gain her 9th championship win, being only a handful away from tying with her father's championship tally. Number 2. Ruby Riott. What have the WWE done with the Riott squad? They had so much potential on the main roster, yet WWE has just constantly fed them to the likes of Natalya and Ronda Rousey, as the group continues to lose credibility every week on Monday Night Raw. Sarah Logan almost picked up the win in the WrestleMania Women's Battle Royal, but foolishly they gave the win to Carmella, who will seemingly do nothing with the win. Logan's win could have brought the squad's status back up, but instead of her winning the Battle Royal, what about Ruby Riott winning the Women's Money in the Bank match? Ruby has proved to have great mic skills and is an excellent technical wrestler, and whilst WWE won't make it a successful cash-in, the win could at least bring the group back up. Number 3. Lacey Evans. Ever since debuting on the main roster, Lacey Evans has done little other than walking in and walking back out to a puzzled crowd. Finally though, on last week's edition of Monday Night Raw, Lacey Evans squared up to the new women's champion and fired the first shot, punching her right in the face. It's an obvious indication that these two will clash in the ring at some point, but what has Evans done to even earn a match against Lynch? She's not even had a match on the main roster yet, and WWE seems to be pushing her straight into the spotlight. Ronda's injury has left a big hole in the women's division, but Dave Meltzer believes that oddly, Lacey Evans is the one to fill her role, mentioning, "The 3 people the division will be built around are Charlotte Flair, Becky Lynch, and Lacey Evans." However, even if the WWE does the unthinkable and has Lacey Evans win the Money in the Bank ladder match, we can't see her being the one to dethrone the man Becky Lynch, as Lynch is at no doubt the peak of her popularity at the moment. And number 4, Sasha Banks. The boss is currently at the centre of much talk amongst the internet wrestling community. Word has it that during WrestleMania, she was upset at the fact that they were told the Iconics would be the one to win the tag team championships. Banks assumed that with the amount of effort that they put in with the belts, they would have a lengthy run, but plans changed at the last moment. Banks was so upset with the decision that there were reports of her throwing a massive tantrum backstage and at the hotel, making it clear that she was unhappy to drop the belts to the Aussie duo. Wrestling journalist Ryan Satin tweeted, "Heard from a few sources now saying Sasha Banks and Bayley were lying on the floor of the locker room on Sunday and back at the hotel in front of one of their rooms, loudly making it known that they were unhappy about losing their tag titles." He added, "This info is from 4 different sources I've spoken with from the past day, all independent from each other and all came to me about it, not the other way around." Whilst this might be nonsense, as various photos show Banks and Bayley enjoying the show from the audience and happily posing with the Iconics after the match, she did not show up for Raw last week and pulled out of the Wendy Williams show, with talk of her wanting to quit WWE and suspiciously following All Elite Wrestling on Twitter. She will also be missing the Superstar shakeup this week, as Brad Shepard of the Oh You Didn't Know Wrestling podcast tweeted, "According to a source in WWE, Sasha Banks told someone in the company she would not be coming in next week, and they were unable to convince her otherwise at the time of the conversation." Her frustration clearly comes from her inconsistent pushes in WWE. Perhaps in order to placate her to stay, WWE might let her win the Money in the Bank match this year, leading to a championship match. But what do you guys think? Who will be the winners this year? Let us know in the comments down below, subscribe if you haven't already, and I'll see you next time with some more wrestling content.